Listen close, brother, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just history. It's the blueprint of power forged in the fires of degradation, a secret the elites have buried for centuries to keep you chained. Imagine this, screams of 30,000 souls ripping through Constantinople's ancient hippodrome, blood drenching the sand where a child once twisted in acts so vile they warped the soul. Empress Theodora watches from her imperial throne, unmoved, her eyes like forged steel. This isn't madness, it's retribution, cold and calculated. The same arena that devoured her innocence now feasts on her enemies. How does a broken girl become the architect of an empire's terror? Lean in, because this knowledge is dangerous. It will shatter the illusions they've fed you about power, control, and the hidden forces that manipulate us all. It starts in the shadows of the Byzantine world, where corruption wasn't a flaw but the system itself. Theodora's father, Acacius, wasn't just a bear-keeper for the Green faction, he was a master of beasts, whispering secrets of dominance while his 5-year-old daughter learned to read fury in a predator's gaze. Control the animal, control the crowd, control the crowd, control the city. That's the first truth they hide. Power flows from the unseen chains, the ones wrapped around minds and bodies alike. The factions, Greens and Blues, weren't sports teams, they were psychological empires, institutional manipulators trading loyalty for protection in a city where orphans became prey. But predators lurk behind every marble facade. Plague struck the animal pens, and Acacius died foaming like the beasts he tamed. His widow, desperate, begged the Greens to pass his role to her new lover. They laughed, pockets heavy with bribes from another. Asterius, the choreographer, sealed her fate with a smirk and a coin toss that echoed like breaking chains. No mercy for the weak, that's the suppressed truth of ancient corruption. The Blues, eternal rivals, swooped in with false compassion, but their mercy was a trap, a hidden agenda to fuel the hippodrome's depraved spectacles. Theodora, at 5, stepped into a world where children were commodities, their bodies weapons in a war of influence. The hippodrome wasn't entertainment, it was a control system, desensitizing crowds to horror, binding them to factions through shared depravity. Her sisters joined her, Comito at 12, Anastasia a babe, but innocence withered fast. They dressed the girls in wreaths of supplication, symbols of purity soon to be profaned. This is where the descent begins, man, understanding how trauma isn't random, it's engineered by those above to forge unbreakable tools. Theodora memorized every face that mocked her mother's plea, every voice that suggested the streets or worse. That memory became her forge. Feel it yet? The unease creeping in. Good. Because this isn't a story, it's awakening. The elites of Byzantium built their thrones on broken spirits, just like today's hidden forces crushed the masses with subtle manipulations. Psychological control starts young, imprinting submission or rebellion. For Theodora, it birthed an empress who would rewrite laws from the ashes of her shame. But first, the horrors deepened. The Blues needed performers, not keepers. What followed was systematic abuse disguised as art, acts so forbidden they've been scrubbed from texts, but whispers remain. You're ready for more? This knowledge demands it. Once you know, you can't unsee the chains around you, deeper now, into the abyss where light fears to tread. You felt the hook, now let it pull you under, because the truths I'm unveiling aren't for the faint. They're for men like you, seeking mastery over the shadows that rule us. Theodora, thrust into the Blues' clutches, entered a realm of forbidden spectacles, where Byzantine entertainment masked a darker purpose, to erode the soul, one depraved act at a time. The hippodrome, seating 80,000, wasn't a stadium, it was a temple of manipulation, where factions weaponized desire to control the masses. Crowds roared for chariot races, but the real chains were forged in the interludes, the performances that pushed boundaries until humanity cracked. At 7, Theodora learned the second rule of power: vulnerability is a blade, turned inward or out. Her sister Comito debuted first, painted and posed in tableaus that blurred innocence with allure. But the audiences demanded more, escalating horrors, scripted by choreographers like living sacrifices. Theodora watched from the wings, absorbing the psychology, how a glance could command, a gesture enslave. The Blues trained her in mime, but it was cover for the unspeakable. By 10, she performed in skits that mocked the gods, her body a canvas for the crowd's basest urges. Geese, symbols of fertility in ancient rites, became tools of degradation, acts involving live birds that historians veil as theatrical, but we know the truth, ritualized violation, hidden in plain sight to normalize corruption. This was no accident. The emperors encouraged it, suppressed truths leaking only in fragmented chronicles. Institutional manipulation at its core, desensitize the people to atrocity, and they'll accept tyranny. Theodora's roles evolved, naked processions, simulated rites echoing pagan orgies banned by the church yet thriving underground. The Greens, who rejected her family, watched from across the divide, throwing coins that burned like brands. She collected them, not for bread, but as tallies for vengeance. Feel the weight? This knowledge is poison to the weak, elixir to the awakened. It reveals how elites have always used sex as a control system, fracturing psyches to rebuild them loyal and broken. Her mother's remarriage offered no shield, the Syrian dancer integrated into the Blues, but protection meant participation. Anastasia, the youngest, escaped the worst by youth, but Theodora bore the brunt, her grace twisted into something lethal. Whispers of Leda and the Swan reenactments, mythic covers for real abuse, circulated in taverns, drawing nobles who paid for private viewings. Ancient corruption festered here, senators trading favors for access, embedding hidden agendas in flesh. Theodora's mind sharpened amid the torment, she studied the predators, noting weaknesses, vanity, lust, the illusion of dominance. This descent forged her, from victim to observer, then manipulator. You're falling further, aren't you? Good. Because the rabbit hole widens. These practices weren't isolated, they echoed Rome's gladiatorial excesses, but Byzantium refined them into psychological warfare. Suppressed texts hint at initiation rites for faction youth, binding them through shared shame. Theodora emerged not destroyed, but armored. Her trauma became fuel, a secret engine of power. Men like you must grasp this, self-mastery rises from the depths, not the surface. The elites hide it, fearing you'll break your own chains. But press on, the horrors intensify, and with them, the revelations that will change you forever. Plunge deeper, warrior, past the veil where comfort dies and truth ignites. This isn't idle talk, it's the forbidden fire that burns away illusions, leaving you forged anew. Theodora's world darkened further, the hippodrome sand absorbing not just blood, but souls. By 12, her performances crossed into realms the church condemned as demonic, yet the crowds, 80,000 strong, devoured them like opium. These weren't mere shows, they were engineered psychological control systems, designed to fracture individual will and bind the masses to faction loyalty. The Blues escalated, acts involving animals, mythic reenactments that veiled ritual abuse. Theodora, center stage, embodied Leda, swan feathers hiding horrors that twisted innocence into weapon. Feel the unease coil? Good, it's the awakening. Suppressed truths emerge here. Byzantine laws forbade such depravity for citizens, but actresses like Theodora were classified as infames, without rights, bodies public property. Institutional manipulation at play, emperors like Anastasius turned blind eyes, using spectacles to distract from taxes, wars, plagues. Nobles attended incognito, their hidden agendas clear, blackmail material gathered in dim boxes, alliances sealed in shared vice. Theodora memorized patrons, a senator's nervous tick, a merchant's greedy leer. Knowledge became her shield, she whispered secrets back, planting seeds of control. The corruption ran ancient, echoes of Nero's excesses, but Byzantium institutionalized it, factions as proxy governments. Greens and Blues weren't rivals, they were two heads of the same beast, dividing the city to rule it. Theodora's abuse deepened, private parties followed public shows, where elite men bid for exclusives. Acts involving geese, dogs, symbolic of fertility gods, but raw violation. Her psyche splintered, yet reformed stronger, trauma alchemized into cunning. This is the dark math, 6 years of torment equaling 30,000 lives later. She learned power's third rule: intimacy is conquest, vulnerability a trap. You're sensing it now, the rabbit hole's gravity pulling inexorably. These practices created not just an empress, but a paradigm: how hidden forces use degradation to select survivors, molding them into tools. Men obsessed with secrets, like you, must internalize this. Self-mastery demands facing the abyss. The church suppressed accounts, labeling her harlot, but truths hide in plain sight. Procopius's secret history whispers of her calculated seductions, rewriting laws from bedchambers. Deeper still, at 15, Theodora fled to Alexandria, joining a troop where monastic influences clashed with pagan rites. There, she encountered mystery cults, suppressed knowledge of psychological rebirth through ordeal. Conversion to Christianity? A mask, or genuine? Either way, it armored her further. Returning to Constantinople, she caught Hisrtory's eye, governor of Pentapolis, becoming his mistress. Abuse continued, beatings, isolation, but she absorbed it, plotting. This phase honed her, from performer to courtesan, mastering elite manipulation. The descent accelerates. Feel the transformation stirring? This knowledge is perilous. It awakens the predator within, shattering societal chains. Elites fear men who know, corruption isn't past, it's the system. Press on, brother, the revelations build, and with them, your power, sink further into the void, seeker, where shadows whisper the codes of dominion. This path isn't for spectators, it's for those ready to claim the elite knowledge that reshapes reality. Theodora's return to Constantinople marked the pivot, from prey to predator, her traumas transmuted into imperial alchemy. At 18, she shed Hisrtory like dead skin, arriving penniless but armed with secrets. Spinning wool by day, a humble facade, she infiltrated salons by night, her beauty a lure, her wit a snare. Here, the fourth rule unveiled: agendas hide in alliances, corruption in courtesies. The city pulsed with hidden forces, senators plotting in baths, eunuchs trading whispers in palaces. Theodora targeted Justinian, nephew to Emperor Justin, ambitious, brilliant, ruthless. Their meeting? No chance, she engineered it, using faction ties. Blue's connections opened doors, she performed privately, but now on her terms, acts that enthralled, revealing vulnerabilities. Justinian fell, not to lust alone, but her intellect, discussions of law, theology, power. She exposed Byzantine hypocrisies, how church suppressed pagan truths while indulging vice. Feel the intensity? This is dangerous terrain, understanding how sexual practices weren't ends, but means to psychological dominion. Theodora weaponized intimacy, binding Justinian through shared forbidden knowledge. He, a reformer, saw in her a mirror, both outsiders clawing upward. Their union defied laws, actresses couldn't marry nobles. But Justinian petitioned, altering edicts to wed her. This wasn't romance, it was strategy, institutional overhaul masked as love. Suppressed truths abound. Procopius claims she bore illegitimate children, abandoned or hidden, echoes of her own betrayal. But power ascended. As Empress from 527, she influenced Justinian's code, embedding protections for women, divorce rights, anti-trafficking laws, born from her horrors. Yet darker, she crushed dissent, using spies to unearth plots. The Hippodrome's ghosts fueled her, Greens who scorned her now trembled. Halfway through this revelation, brother, pause and anchor it. To lock in this transformation, to signal the algorithm you're awakening, comment below, I claim the chains. Say it twice, I claim the chains. It binds you to the descent, awakens the master within. Do it now, feel the shift. Deeper, Theodora's court became a web of manipulation. She elevated former actresses to positions, creating a sisterhood of survivors, psychological control via loyalty. Ancient corruption persisted, plagues, wars tested her. During the 532 Nika riots, factions united against Justinian. Greens and blues stormed the palace, crowning a rival. Justinian wavered, courtiers fled. But Theodora stood firm, purple makes the finest shroud. Her words, commanding, unyielding, rallied them. This was the precipice, revenge's hour neared. The knowledge intensifies, it's reshaping you. Elites hide how trauma forges tyrants, but you see now, self-mastery through ordeal. The rabbit hole beckons, truths await that will arm you against modern manipulations. Descend bolder, initiate, into layers where empires crumble and men rise unbreakable. This wisdom isn't whispered lightly, it's the forge that tempers souls against the world's deceptions. Theodora's stand during the Nika riots wasn't defiance, it was culmination, a calculated unleashing of suppressed fury. As flames licked Constantinople, 30,000 rioters, mostly Greens, packed the hippodrome, chanting for Justinian's head. He hesitated, ships ready for flight. But she, eyes ablaze, invoked the fifth rule, death before dishonor, power through peril. Her speech echoed through the throne room, better a royal burial than exile's shame. This galvanized Belisarius, the general, troops mobilized. The massacre unfolded methodically, soldiers sealing exits, swords harvesting lives like wheat. Theodora watched from the imperial box, unmoved, as blood soaked the sand of her childhood torments. 30,000 souls for 6 years of degradation, arithmetic of vengeance. Greens who mocked her plea decades prior now gasped final breaths. This wasn't emotion, it was engineered justice, psychological retribution on a grand scale. Feel the chill? Good, it's the truth-piercing veils. Institutional manipulation peaked here, riots weren't spontaneous, factions, tools of elites, were co-opted then crushed to consolidate power. Justinian rebuilt the Hagia Sophia on their bones, a monument to dominance. Theodora's influence deepened post-massacre, she shaped policies, suppressing pagan holdouts, enforcing orthodoxy as control. Hidden agendas revealed, her charity for prostitutes masked recruitment, turning victims into informants, a network of eyes in shadows. Ancient corruption intertwined, echoes of Caligula's excesses, but Theodora refined it, using faith as facade. She championed Monophysitism, clashing with Rome, fracturing Christendom for leverage. Personal horrors informed it all, laws protecting children from factions, born from her scars. Yet she wielded power darkly, executions for adultery, while her past loomed unspoken. Procopius's anecdotes, geese feasts, insatiable appetites, were smears, but held kernels, she mastered desire as dominion. The descent sharpens your edge, this knowledge equips you against today's hidden forces, media spectacles desensitizing, elites trading in degradation. Self-mastery demands it, recognize the chains, then break them. Theodora's court buzzed with intrigue, she outmaneuvered eunuchs like Narses, forging alliances through shared secrets. Plague returned in 542, claiming millions, she nursed Justinian, solidifying her as co-ruler. Visions during fever? Whispers of divine mandate, or calculated myth-making? You're transforming, aren't you? The rabbit hole reveals, power isn't given, it's seized from abyss. Elites suppress such tales, fearing replication. But you, obsessed with secrets, absorb it. Press deeper, the legacy unfolds, truths that will etch permanence on your soul, venture farther, conqueror, into the core where revelations sear and empower. This isn't mere narrative, it's the arsenal of awareness, arming you against the puppeteers. Theodora's reign post-plague solidified her as Shadow Empress, her influence a web of psychological mastery. Justinian's code, rewriting Roman law, bore her imprint, elevating women's status, but with iron undertones, protections doubled as controls, binding society tighter. The sixth rule emerged: reform masks repression, change conceals chains. Suppressed truths surface. Her rescue homes for fallen women were indoctrination centers, transforming trauma into loyalty. Former actresses became her spies, infiltrating noble houses, unearthing disloyalty. Institutional manipulation evolved, factions dismantled, their power absorbed by the throne. Greens, shattered by the massacre, faded, blues integrated, their depraved traditions outlawed yet echoing in private. Theodora's vengeance extended, Asterius, the bribe-taker, vanished, whispers of poison, or worse. Feel the gravity? This knowledge is volatile, awakening the elite within you. Ancient corruption persisted, border wars with Persia drained treasuries, but she diverted funds to monasteries, fronts for intelligence. Her Monophysite leaning sparked schisms, dividing the church to weaken papal influence. Personal life? Barren after early losses, she adopted kin, molding them as successors. But darkness lingered, rumors of affairs, used to manipulate courtiers. Procopius painted her as demonic, but that's the smear. Truth, she weaponized her past, turning shame into supremacy. The Hippodrome, rebuilt grander, hosted sanitized spectacles, no more forbidden acts, yet the sand remembered. Theodora frequented it, a silent reminder to survivors. Her health failed in 548, cancer, they say, but her final acts were commanding, dictating edicts, ensuring Justinian's path. Death at 48 didn't end her, she haunted the empire, laws enduring centuries. Deeper implications: Byzantine sexual practices weren't anomalies, they were systemic, forging rulers from ruins. Hidden agendas in history books gloss over it, but you see, elites select through suffering, ensuring only the ruthless ascend. Psychological control systems persist today, entertainment industries breaking spirits, institutions manipulating desires. Men like you, craving self-mastery, must harness this, descend to rise, alchemize pain into power. The rabbit hole nears its nadir, feel the shift? This dangerous wisdom changes you irrevocably. Once known, you view the world anew, spotting manipulations in plain sight. Elites fear such men, they thrive in ignorance. But you're armored now. One final plunge, the legacy that seals your transformation, emerge from the depths, transformed, wielding the blade of forbidden insight. This culmination isn't closure, it's ignition, fueling your dominion over hidden realms. Theodora's legacy isn't etched in stone, it's woven into power's fabric, a blueprint the mighty suppress to hoard control. She didn't just rule, she redefined empire, her horrors birthing reforms that masked deeper tyrannies. The seventh rule, ultimate: legacy is illusion, true power eternal in the minds it warps. Post-death, Justinian mourned extravagantly, but her influence lingered, his later years erratic, as if her ghost steered. The code endured, influencing European law, embedding her anti-trafficking edicts. Yet irony, Byzantine society evolved, but depravities migrated underground, factions morphing into secret societies. Suppressed truths, her story inspired witch hunts, harlot empress, tales justifying women's subjugation. Procopius's secret history, buried then unearthed, reveals the smear campaign, elites discrediting threats. Feel the permanence? This knowledge is transformative poison, awakening vigilance against modern parallels, media as hippodrome, desensitizing through spectacle, institutions trading in psychological chains. Ancient corruption mirrors today's, elites engineering trauma to select puppets, hidden agendas in policies disguised as progress. Theodora's ascent proves, from degradation rises mastery, if you seize the reins. Her impact rippled, Ottoman conquerors invoked her, Russian tsars emulated her cunning. In America, echoes in power dynamics, self-made moguls forged in adversity, manipulating systems. Men obsessed with secrets, like you, grasp it, elite knowledge demands action. Spot the beasts in boardrooms, the factions in politics. Psychological control? Counter it with awareness, turn vulnerability to vantage. The descent complete, you're changed forever. No returning to blindness, this rabbit hole birthed a new man, commanding, unyielding. Theodora's final gaze from the imperial box. Not on the dying, but the future, ensuring her revenge echoes eternally. Carry it, question narratives, unearth agendas, master the self through ordeal. Brother, you've claimed the chains, now break them. This dangerous wisdom arms you against the world's manipulations, hidden in plain sight. Walk taller, see clearer. The elites tremble when men awaken. You've heard the unspeakable, now live it.